Now the part 1 script begins. The moment someone earns their first $1,000 that they don't immediately need for bills, something important happens. That $1,000 becomes the decision point. Most people don't realize it, but this is the exact moment where two completely different financial paths begin. One path leads to spending that money slowly on things that lose value. The other path turns that same $1,000 into something that starts working quietly in the background for years. If you're watching this, there's a good chance you're standing right at that decision point. $1,000 might not sound like a lot of money in the world of investing. You hear stories about people investing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions. But what most people don't understand is that the first $1,000 is actually the hardest one to invest. Not because of the money itself, but because of the mindset shift that has to happen before you invest it. Up until now, money has probably meant spending. You earn money, you buy something, and the money disappears. That's how most people are conditioned to think about money their entire lives. But investing flips that entire relationship upside down. Instead of money leaving your life, you're sending it somewhere with the expectation that it comes back bigger later. That idea sounds simple, but psychologically, it's very different from spending. When you spend money, the reward is immediate. When you invest money, the reward is delayed. And in a world where everything is instant, delayed rewards feel uncomfortable for most people. That's exactly why most people never start investing. They tell themselves they'll invest later when they have more money. They think investing is something you do once you're rich. But in reality, investing is usually the reason people become wealthy in the first place. Now, before anyone puts that first $1,000 into the market, there are a few important things that need to be understood. Because one of the biggest mistakes beginners make is rushing into investments without building a financial foundation first. Think of investing like building a house. Nobody starts with the roof. You start with the foundation. And financially speaking, the foundation is stability. If someone invests money, but they're constantly worried about paying bills, dealing with credit card debt, or covering emergencies, they usually end up pulling that money out of the market at the worst possible time. That's how people lose money. Not because investing itself is bad, but because they were forced to sell during a bad moment. That's why the smartest investors always start with something simple. Before investing your first $1,000, you want a small financial buffer, something that protects you from unexpected expenses. Imagine your car suddenly needs a repair that costs $600. If you don't have emergency savings, the only place that money can come from is your investments. And if the market happens to be down that week, you're forced to sell at a loss. That's not investing, that's survival. So, step one before investing is making sure you're not financially fragile. A small emergency fund changes everything. Even $1,000 sitting in savings can prevent a lot of financial stress. Once that basic protection exists, the next thing to look at is high interest debt. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of personal finance. Many beginners want to invest while carrying credit card debt that charges 20% interest. Mathematically, that usually doesn't make sense. If your credit card is charging 20% interest every year, paying that off is basically the same as earning a guaranteed 20% return. And in the world of investing, a guaranteed 20% return is almost impossible to find. So before your money starts working for you in the market, you want to make sure it isn't secretly working against you through high interest debt. Once those basics are handled, now the real investing conversation begins. At this point, your $1,000 officially becomes investment capital. And the first question most beginners ask is simple: where do I actually invest this money? In the United States today, investing is easier than it has ever been in history. A few decades ago, you needed a financial advisor or a stockbroker just to place a trade. Fees were high, the process was slow, and the stock market felt like a closed club. Today, almost anyone with a smartphone can open an investment account in minutes. Brokerage platforms like Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Vanguard, and several modern investing apps have made investing accessible to everyday people. Many of them allow you to buy stocks or funds with zero commission fees. That means your $1,000 can go directly into investments without getting eaten up by trading costs. But opening a brokerage account